Hello YouTube, AndrewTheRed here again with the philosophy section. So I'll start with a quick reference book that I have here, The Great Philosophers. So this one was by Stangroom and Garvey, 2005. And I picked this up just because it's got, it's well designed, it's got nice pictures there's Descartes, by the way. So it's a quick reference guide. So, but not really in depth. You need to go right to the source for in-depth stuff. Here is another one of my Ayn Rand books for the new intellectual. This has excerpts from her fiction novels, and then at the beginning it has an essay specific to this book. I read this years ago, so I'm not really sure what it's about. I think it's attacking modern day intellectuals. But I don't remember enough about it, unfortunately, really to comment coherently. Okay, here's where did I get this from? I think it wasn't just us. I think I got it from a friend. He had a box of these things and I picked it out. So it's called God, the Devil, and the Perfect Pizza, 10 Philosophical Questions by Govier, G-O-V-I-E-R. Let's see the year, 89. So it actually has, it looks like it's, I haven't read this, it's just kind of a funny little book. It has, the book is comprised of conversations. So it's got, like, for example, Chris, and he says something, and then Robin says something. And it's sort of in the, I guess you could say it's in the Socrates sense. It's a dialogue. The book is full of dialogue, so arguments back and forth, and all of that. So there's actually a bookmark in here. The used bookstore. Oh. Okay. Okay, here's an old. This will be an old one. The Philosophy of Mind, edited by a whole crap load of people. Well, it says edited by Chappell with 2 P's. This is 62. Prentice Hall publisher. So this is just it says the concept of mind, behavior, Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations. Is consciousness a brain process? That kind of stuff. Oh, it's got behaviorism in here. So I have not read this. So I'm not sure what it's about. Okay, there's the Communist Manifesto. So this is a kind of a, it's got pictures in it, so it's sort of a reference guide. It's a quick account of the manifesto. Everyone should read it if they're interested in philosophy and in politics, I guess. So, yes, there's the manifesto by David Boyle. Okay, of course, I've got to have this one, especially if I'm in education. So Plato's The Republic. So this is basically Plato's account of what government should look like, as well as what the role of the state is. Obviously, a big problem that I have with Plato is, I guess not obvious, is that his conception of the philosopher kings, basically benevolent uses of power. Obviously, him being one of them, right? He'll be one of the philosopher kings and he'll rule society, and no problem, don't worry, I've got it because I'm a philosopher king, right? So it's obviously a big conflict of interest there, but there's a big problem with that point of view. Okay, I had to find it here because I was reading a book for school. For education, actually, it's by a Danish theorist. I don't know, he probably wouldn't have called himself that at the time. Name is Grundtvig, and he actually had a great quote about Plato's Republic, and I didn't want to half-ass it, so I found it here. So he says the proposals for obtaining them have generally the same fundamental fault of Plato's Republic. So he's talking about education. So he's talking about fitting the mass of people into a culture that would be their own. That's the context of this quote. So the proposals for obtaining them have generally the same fundamental fault of Plato's Republic, where the guardians of freedom and culture themselves swallow them both up, so that the people for all their labor get only proud tyrants to obey, to support, and if they can comfort them, to admire and defy. So I thought that was a pretty powerful criticism of Plato and his philosopher kings, his angels that he's going to find on earth to rule the rest of society. So that's Plato's Republic. Well, that was a criticism of Plato's Republic. But Plato's Republic, as I said, is about the role of government, and it's about government and there's a bit of education in there too. So here's Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. I have not read this yet, but it is a staple for people interested in ethics. There's another book by Aristotle, much older. It's Ethics, Aristotle's Ethics, and St. Augustine's Confessions. So this is an old book. Let's see if I can find the year here. It's weird, it doesn't even... Well, it's after 1947, but it doesn't show a copyright. That's weird. Oh, no. No. Oh, here we go. 1963. So there's two books, Aristotle's Ethics and St. Augustine's Confessions. Okay, here's another book I picked up recently. This is by Nietzsche. So The Birth of Tragedy and the Genealogy of Morals. So that's a nice one to have too. I just recently picked this up, so I have not read them yet. But I can do that. 1956. Here's another one by Nietzsche, Beyond Good and Evil. I actually got this one for $1. $1. So Beyond Good and Evil. So there's Nietzsche. Another Nietzsche book. That's all the Nietzsche books I have. So here's The Trial of Socrates, by Stone. So this is something everyone should have, or not everyone, but people interested in philosophy anyways. The actual trial of Socrates is something to be studied. He was basically persecuted because he was, what was the quote, or infecting the youth or something like that. So basically a trial was about, well, it kind of alludes to censorship today, so this is 1988. But an analysis of the trial of Socrates is worth the read. So this is a book. So it's called "This Is Not a Book." So it's basically about epistemology, but yeah, it's got all kinds of chapters in here. It starts with epistemology. And then goes into ethics and morality, metaphysics, spirituality, logic, and infinity. So, and it's got some nice pictures in it. It's fairly well laid out too. So it's one of those sort of quick reference books that you can read quickly. Books that aren't dense like those other ones that I mentioned, like those Nietzsche ones. Okay, here's another Ayn Rand book, The Virtue of Selfishness. So this is her core ethics. Selfishness, not usually it's called rational self-interest, but the virtue of selfishness is basically about her stance on life in terms of you should benefit from your relations with people, and that you shouldn't. Like, can you imagine having a friend that said to you, "Oh, you want to do something? Because not that I really getting any enjoyment out of it, but I just want to make sure you're happy. And like, it's just the whole. She talks a lot about sacrifice, and she really demonizes sacrifice. So, okay, here's another one I picked up recently, from Socrates to Sartre, The Philosophic Quest. This is by Lavine, not Avril Lavigne. Let's see, what year is it? 84. So it does Plato, the virtue is knowledge, the ideal state. Part 2 is Descartes, and part 3 is David Hume. That's the Aesop guy, of course. Part 4 is Hegel. The real is the rational, master and slave, the cunning of reason. Part 5 is Marx. Part 6 is Sartre. And part 7 is the contemporary scene in philosophy. It says here, the dramatic new survey that makes philosophy a force in our lives, our world, our visions. Okay, so here's some books on Bacon that I picked up recently as well. The last few books I've gotten recently. So The Advancement of Learning by Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon is one of the beginners of empiricism and science. Francis Bacon. So I had to have that, and I think this was probably, this was $1. $1 for that one. This one is 1973. It's his first book and second book. Okay. And the other one by Francis Bacon, Essays, also for $1. As Mr. Cropper says, I had to have it. I had to rescue it. 1972. Oh, there's lots of chapters here of truth, of death, of unity in religion, of revenge, of adversity, of simulation and dissimulation. And that was only probably a quarter of the chapters. All the little, just a couple pages each. Okay. Okay, here's another Ayn Rand book. Philosophy, Who Needs It? You know, it's nice. These are all centennial editions, so they actually look nice together. So, like, for example, this is probably another reason why I was collecting them, because they look kind of they're all like the same series, all designed together, so different colors, right? So, except the Fountainhead book I have is a different one. It's not the same type. So, yeah, this one is Philosophy, Who Needs It? So this is an account why the public should be, why a person should be interested in philosophy. Why you shouldn't leave it to, I would argue in modern day, the politicians. And when I watch stuff on TV, politicians and debates, political debates, hardly a debate. Ridiculous. So, anyways, that's a good one. That's a good one to read. Okay, and the last one in philosophy that I have is this is by William Gardner. So if you remember What's the Trouble with Canada Still, he wrote that one as well. But this one's called The Book of Absolutes. And the reason I picked it up is because of the title, the subtitle, A Critique of Relativism and a Defense of Universals, which I hadn't seen done before. It's probably been done, but I'm just not aware of it. But he provides a critique of relativism, and in particular culture of relativism, and defends universals. And he lists a whole bunch of actual universals that he, I guess believes that are universals. I should find a couple just so I can give you a taste. So he talks about, like, for example, natural law and moral law. So natural law actually came out of Aristotle. But let me see. Okay, here we go. Human universals. So he says there's 311 human universals. And I think this means is that all human cultures have exhibited this. Like, for example, he lists dance as one of them. So all human cultures, as isolated as they eventually became, like apparently we originated out of Africa, right, and then spread everywhere. But eventually cultures became isolated and then developed, right? Which is why we have races at all today, or distinguishable races. But all of them, for example, developed dance, developed narrative, developed play and poetry. I guess they didn't know write, though. Reciprocity as positive. Sexual modesty, that might be, I don't know what that. Let's see. Units of time. Government. Let's see. Group living. And I'll read some from this page. I just can't pronounce some of these things. Anthropomorphization. Coalitions. Collective identities. Classification of kin. That's probably a big one. Childbirth customs. Body adornment. That's a definite universal. Let's see. Age status. So talking about young, middle, and old, right? So elders, for example. Aesthetic standards. That's pretty much universal. That's universal. So there's all kinds of them in here. So I thought it was a pretty interesting account. And this one's got all kinds of references in it too. So I think there's also, what's this one? Oh, he lists constants of nature. Are those universals? They have to be, right? Like, for example, mass of protons, mass of electrons, Planck constants, Bohr radius. I guess that's kind of getting into chemistry. What else is there here? Even the atomic units of elements. The atomic mass of gold is going to be the same here as the moon. Is that not universal? I think so. Okay, that's it for philosophy. So the next section I'll do fiction for a change here. I still have psychology, and I still have education as well as the stuff I'm doing for school. So next section will be, I'll do some fiction just for a change up of the heavy stuff. So until next time.